predictive policing. Here's a story Brett Goldstein likes to tell. He starts on a Friday night in 2010 with him sitting in a darkened Crown Victoria on a Chicago street poring over maps. Goldstein was the commander of the Chicago Police Department in charge of a small unit using data analysis to predict where certain types of crimes were likely to occur at any time. Earlier that day, his computer models forecast a heightened probability of violence on a particular south side block of Chicago. Now that he and his partner were there, Goldstein was doubting himself. It didn't look like a target for a shooting, he recalled. The house looked great. Everything was well manicured. You expect if you're in this neighborhood, you're looking for abandoned buildings, you're looking for people selling dope. I saw none of that. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you definitely get the idea of this man is using software from a company called CivicSafe, and he's selling it to different police departments in the United States. And this software is supposed to predict crime, but also there are a lot of people that are not as quite positive about this software. A lot of people call it, mumbo jumbo. Let's see, Pollyannish. A lot of different. Some people even call him. He's part of a group called, they sarcastically called the Crystal Ball Unit, meaning that he's trying to predict the future. And so you can read it for yourselves. I'm sure you're mostly sentient enough to read all this about the software, and it's very interesting and compelling. My second handout is about the rise of the robots security guards, and this is a Mountain View, California company called Nightscape, and they've been developing these robots. There's a K5 security robot in the handout, and mostly they're used for security guards, or in San Jose they're being seen at Qualcomm company, and they have a license plate recognition camera, 4 microphones, and a weather sensor. And my final handout is called the Yale Harvard Study on Goals. Does anyone have that? And actually, since this last couple of weeks of the year, and we're trying to up our game, and we're trying to use, we're trying to be a superlative kind of people that are, trying to reach our goals. And I don't know if any of you have heard of the 1953 Harvard study or the 1979 Yale study about writing down your goals. And you'll see that a lot of people think, including Ziegler and Wayne Dyer, and a lot of other self-help people, gurus, are into the writing down your goals for the near future. And in this study, it says that the 13% of goals not in writing were earning an average twice as much as 84% who had no goals at all. 3% who had clear written goals were earning an average 10 times as much as the other 97% of graduates altogether. A lot of people call this namby-pamby, But I tend to think that it is a real, if it's true, then I think it would be good to write down your goals for the year 2018. And I was going to talk about hypertelling. It's a thing set up by billionaire Elon Musk, and lately also Sir Richard Branson. And the problem is that a lot of these hyperventilating places are occurring all over the world, including Dubai. There's one, they're developing on paper a hypertunnel from Dubai to Abu Dhabi, which is a 2-hour, normally is a 2-hour ride by car, and it can be done in 12 minutes if that's the theory. Also, another theory is that they can carry passengers, but I think it would be best or more prudent if they carry cargo, and then thus eliminating things like UPS and things like that. So I just wanted to talk to you about those goals and hyperventilating and upping your game in 2018. Thanks, bye.
There you go. I'm out of your way.
Christopher, I apologize, I do not have the manual with me, so this is on the fly a bit. I applaud you. This is unlike any speech that I have ever seen in my previous time here with Toastmasters with the handouts. Those were incredibly well done and very supportive of what you presented today. I think this was an excellent blend of the use of new terminology that was well defined. Oftentimes you have people that speak and they throw in all these words that none of your audience has ever heard of and then don't define it, and the audience is left confused. This is a very relevant topic for the time with all the discussion of security at every different level, particularly abroad and now with all the changes that are occurring. I'm also impressed that you didn't have any notes. That was one of my big issues when I was speaking, is I always had my notes on the lectern. It didn't seem, however, that the last handout that you gave us was truly connected to the first two, and I think that you could have connected that, given that Goldstein did create this new software that he built into the company, and our topic today was goals for 2018, and that last handout talked about setting goals, and you could have wrapped that in. There was a great addition of humor to the speech, and but it was also an interesting mix of what seemed to be planned structure and then off-the-cuff speech, given what was talked about today by earlier speakers and what Kyle had as our Toastmaster. So all around, I think this was a great speech, great use of humor. Maybe a little bit of notes for yourself to kind of keep the topic moving, and a better use or combination of that last handout with what you had planned to speak about.